Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope you're doing really well in this moment in time, and that whenever and wherever you happen to be on this wildly chaotic planet right now, I hope that you are able to identify the stereotypes that you have been living in your own life. The stereotypes you put upon yourself because society placed these upon you. And what I'm talking about is gender stereotypes. Are you a female who kind of falls prey to the female stereotypes that you grew up with once in a great while? I hate to admit it, but in my past, when I was very young, I bought into it. I actually believed the hype of the stereotype. And I wasn't really, looking back, I'm not really happy about it, honestly. And I wasn't really, back then, when I was 18, 19, 20, I didn't really have an awareness of what I was doing. You know, but if I saw a spider, oh, help me. Okay, I'm still that way. It's much less a stereotype in my life now than a much more like, holy crap, a spider, I'm so scared. Like, I have 2 legs, they have 8, that is freaky. I have 2 eyes, they have 8, oh my god, even freakier still. My teeth are inside my body. They have mandible. It's just too much. It's just too much to bear. Possibly my legs are hairier than a spider's legs right now, though. Just be honest. I mean, we've been in isolation for a while. Haven't shaved those legs in a few months. Sasquatching it all the way. But what if you're a man and you have forced all these stereotypes, or people around you in our lives, our parents, teachers, well-wishers from church or whatever weird place we ended up being at when we were kids, all the different possibilities, possible places you could be, out of all the possibilities of what to be growing up as a man or growing up as a woman, how many of these ideas have held you back, and how many of these ideas did you buy hook, line, and sinker, and then you held yourself back based on these? With men, the big boys don't cry is a big stereotype, or real men don't cry. When I was in high school, it was real men don't eat quiche. Yes, they do, and it's delicious. But there's a lot of stereotypes that we have we're told our whole lives. Now, if you are a transgender person or a trans fluid person, this is something that has actually been at the foremost of your mind, and you have been busting down these stereotypes left and right. But the rest of us, we kind of forced ourselves into these weird little boxes, weird little categories of, I'm a man, I'm tough, I don't cry, or I'm the man, I'm the provider, of the money, and I like being in a traditional relationship where the man has the money, and I kind of like that role, but at the same time, I definitely want to have my own and make my own, you know, and I don't have a problem with being equal partners either in a relationship. But how these stereotypes affect you can run so deep, and it can affect not just your relationships, but your romantic relationships, but it can affect every part of you, everything. You know, like if you're a woman and you think that you need to wear makeup and high heels and the sexy short skirts, and it's like, I'm sorry, but your body isn't there for the viewing and perusal pleasure of every man in the freaking world. That's just a fact. But that's a stereotype that we as women, you know, we're kind of trained. Oh, I can't leave the house without my lipstick, my mom used to say. And she'd say, hey, get your lipstick on. You know, I'm not dressed until I'm wearing that mask on my face. That makeup, gotta put on makeup. And I still, I struggle with this one. Like, I don't always wear makeup. I posted on Instagram yesterday where I don't have makeup. Oh, but I did put it in black and white. Because I'm still vain. Vanity, thy name is woman, right? Isn't that not the line? You know, things I struggle with every day. And things that you probably struggle with every day too. But is there a way that we can stop and take a step back and reimagine what we want to accept for ourselves outside of the roles and the boxes and the stereotypes that society at large has put on us and that our families have put on us? You know, is what the man says, you know, my way or the highway, he says it and he puts his foot down, he's the king of the castle, and you don't have a fucking say. That's like toxic masculinity. Now, as a man, do you look at that and go, God, that's not me at all? If you're a man and you're listening to this and you say, that's not at all how I feel, I want that equal partner thing, that's because you have stepped into your divine masculinity. That's because you have thrown off the shackles of those stereotypes, and you have put yourself in a position of love, kindness, and compassion. And you have decided consciously to make an effort towards a better understanding of yourself and of your partner and of the world in a different perspective, with a higher, loftier perspective, a deeply spiritual and compassionate perspective. You know, if you're a woman and you have to act a certain way because that's how you were taught, and then all of a sudden you say, you know, this is kind of dumb. I don't have to wear dresses to leave the house and wear lipstick and make my hair done, and you know, I could actually wear sweats and a t-shirt if I want. You know, I can actually wear combat boots and possibly, you know, sandals, or you could wear anything. Tennis shoes, high tops, flip-flops. You don't have to wear those high heels, man. It's not doing your back any favors. It's not doing your body any favors, right? You know, I had to stop wearing high heels when I broke my leg, and it's such a bummer because I bought the cutest pair of Italian heels. They're very short heels. They're like 3 or 4 inches, and they're in Detroit, my house, unless someone has stolen them by now. I don't know. But I got them for $40 shoes, but they were handcrafted in Italy. They fit my feet like as if they were made for me specifically. I mean, oh my God, these shoes, so beautiful. And it just broke my heart that I couldn't even walk for 6 months right after I bought them. But hey, God saves you, right? Maybe it would have been better, worse if I had been wearing those shoes and broke my leg. I don't know. Very sad. I mean, they were cute with jeans. I was going to wear them with dresses and skirts, And there's nothing wrong with wanting to wear, shoes or a skirt or a dress or, even if you're a man, it doesn't, there's nothing wrong with wanting to wear what you want to wear. Being attracted to what you're attracted to. In the United States, men that wear pink get questioned. Men that wear, like a pale purple. Ooh, what's that mean? That's a little funny, isn't it? That's the way I grew up. That was a weird stereotype. Men don't wear pink. No. So the hell what? Actually, yeah, they do. All over the world, men wear pink. And no one has a hang up about color. But in the United States, they do. Why? It's so strange. It's really strange. It's just a color, so what? White mixed with red. That's all. It's just color. It's like, why do people spend, time and energy with that? Women cheerlead on the sidelines, men play the sport on the field. Yeah, that's the stereotype I kind of grew up with. And that somehow women playing sports isn't as exciting or interesting or even as valid as men playing sports. That was something that, even though it was never specifically said in my high school, and I wanted to be a cheerleader, I did every activity possible, and I'm not very athletic at all, but I did want to be a cheerleader. I'm really good at screaming. Good at yelling, and so there you go. And my voice carries like okay, so I really wanted to, any and every activity to stay the hell away from my home, because my stepmom was abusive and pretty much beating me almost every single day. It was a really crappy childhood. So as much as I loved my little brother, they didn't beat him until I left, and then they beat him. And I didn't know until we became adults, and he told me. I'm like, oh my God, the hell's wrong with these people, I love my kids dearly, and thank you God I never beat them. Now, I had to spank, my youngest a couple times. When he was really little, he got a little butt slapped, like maybe twice, maybe 3 times, but, and beating my kids, never, oh my God, never. How could you do that to someone you love? I couldn't. But my stepmom could. She beat the shit out of me every chance she got. And, so I tried to be a cheerleader. And when I was a cheerleader, I was trying out, and they said, so you're trying out for, the boys basketball team, right? And I'm like, no, actually, I want to cheer on the women. And they're like, but that's a lesser team. That's like a lesser cheerleading position. I'm like, well, why should it be? Because I want to support my friends. Are you saying that they work out a little less than the men, or they somehow deserve not to be cheered for? And they're like, no. And they're like, why don't you want to be for the men's basketball team? I'm like, well, because they're all dicks to me. They're jerks to me. Why would I want to cheer them on? They don't deserve my time and attention. And I'm not saying this about all men and all boys everywhere, but these specific people that I grew up with, they were not very nice people. They really weren't. And the guys that I knew weren't even in sports that were really nice and sweet. But the guys that were on the team, they were mean. They were mean. They always teased us, and they were mean. They always said stupid things, and I just didn't want to. They didn't deserve my support, And most of the men that, they grew up to be pretty decent men. Most of them are pretty decent people, and I still know them. But, I just wanted to support the women, or the girls. We were all, 16. Like, I just want to support them. They deserve my my time and attention because they're very sweet to me. I want to support who supports me, right? It's mutual. But why is the stereotype that the boys' basketball team was somehow more important? Why is it a stereotype that women get paid less than men? It's not a stereotype, it's an actual reality. It's a fact. Women make less money than men, all around the world. And, so that's not a stereotype, but the stereotype behind that, or the idea, the falsity, of stereotype is a false idea. It could be positive or negative, but, it's, overall, it's false. When it's false, it's stupid. There are other stereotypes about, other various aspects. Redheads are like this, brunettes are like this, blondes are like that. I don't even have to fill in the blanks there because your mind already did it, because those stereotypes exist. But I want you to pay attention to the gender stereotypes specifically, because they might still be affecting you, and it's time for us to bust out of the shell that society put us in. It's time to step into our divine feminine and our divine masculine. And it's also time for us to accept both of our divine masculine and our divine feminine natures inside of us, because we have everything. We are whole people and complete inside of ourselves. We just have to accept that. I accept that I have divine masculine energy, and I accept that I have divine feminine energy in me. This is not to accept toxic femininity or toxic masculinity inside of you. That's not what I'm talking about. Both genders need to, I'm so sorry. That was like super heteronormative of me. Sorry about that. All genders, I should be very inclusive here. But all genders need to understand that it is divine and sacred, and it is our divine and sacred right, as well as our divine and sacred duty, to be loving and compassionate and accepting of everybody, no matter what they like, no matter what they do, no matter how they act, right? And if we can get to a point where we no longer accept the stereotypes and we no longer follow these crazy gender-specific stereotypical roles that we were all taught. It's okay for dads to stay home and be compassionate. It's okay for dads to cry. And it's okay for women to go to work. It's okay for moms to be strong and valiant and brave. It's okay for women to be soldiers, out on the battlefield. Even though I personally don't agree with war in general, but it is okay for men to be secretaries if they want, and it's okay for women to be doctors or hospital administrators or whatever, like most of you know this, all of you know this, honestly, but there's still those weird little pesky gender stereotypes that we secretly hold on to inside of ourselves. Sure, it's okay for women to act like that, but not me. I just don't want to. But why don't you want to? Maybe it's something you do want to do, but you're afraid because of how you were taught and raised. Your grandmother, who's been dead for 20 years, might not approve. Maybe that's it. And you loved her, and she had a good way of life, and why mess with the status quo? You have to question. I mean, maybe you have a decent reason to fall into the stereotypes and accept them for yourself, but maybe you've never thought of it. And so if there's anything that you're doing or saying or acting a certain way, or maybe you're not pushing yourself enough. If you're a woman, especially, if you're not pushing yourself enough to have a better life for yourself. Like my friend Christine, when I was in college, she told me, I think I want to be a nurse so that I can meet a rich, handsome doctor to fall in love with, and then I can quit my job and just stay at home all day, be a wife and mother. I'm like, why would you accept that for yourself when there's other possibilities? And she's like what? I don't see anything. I'm like, well, why don't you become the rich, beautiful doctor, right? Why don't you become that? And then you can still marry another doctor, but you can confer with each other because you're both doctors, right? You know, maybe you can fall in love with a beautiful male nurse. I don't know, you know, it doesn't matter. Or a female nurse, doesn't matter. But, you know, why do you have to have your fantasy life fall into these stereotypical gender roles? And we all have these, and we don't even realize it. So I want you guys to just take a look at your life and kind of keep that in mind. Like, maybe there's some things that you have accepted that if you bust out of the shell of that stereotype, maybe you can have a little bit more for yourself. You could be a little bit more. You can allow a lot more. You know, I've had people say to me that, you know, cooking is for women, right? You know, we've all heard that, you know, it's women's work. But did someone forget to tell Paul Prudhomme that? Did somebody forget to tell Wolfgang Puck that? Or that crazy Irish one who's always screaming at people? He's such an asshole. But Gordon Ramsay. You know, did someone forget to tell him that cooking is women's, you know, the women's work? Like, it's stupid. It's really stupid. But, you know, we accept, oh, well, he's a chef. Ooh, well. But, like, you see the difference there. Like, you know, in the home, it's supposed to be a woman doing it. But in public, the famous chefs are men. Well, why is that? Why isn't it the stereotype? Or why don't we take the stereotype out of it and have, you know, the husband cook it, you know, and you know, maybe we shouldn't even be heteronormative. Again, see, that's a stereotype I've got. You know, I keep, you know, going back to that because even though I'm bisexual, I want to be married to a man, and I know my twin flame is a man. I feel his energy, you know. And by the way, you can be a twin flame, you know, and I've said this a million times already, but just in case you're new, you can be a lesbian and your twin flame is also a lesbian. That's okay. It's just, it's the energy. One of you is more masculine, one of you is more feminine, and it doesn't matter about your physical gender. You know, the twin flames could be either way. It's not only, it's like, you know, it's not, I'm not going to say, oh, sorry, you're a gay man, so you just don't have a twin flame. Oh, well, that's not true. You know, one of you will hold the sacred feminine, one of you will hold the sacred masculine inside of you. You know, energy, it's just an energy. It's not, I don't mean, by the way, when I say twin flames, I just wanted to clear that up. So, yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about gender stereotypes, and mostly because I watched this Brad Pitt movie from when he was like so freaking young. He had this glorious hair. Oh my God. My son's like, I want to grow this hair. I want to grow my hair like this now because it looks amazing. He was amazing. Oh my God, why am I not thinking? I want to say River Runs Through It. It's not that one. It's the other one. They came out about that same time. That was with Craig Sheffer, who I met, by the way, in Agora Hills in a coffee shop many, many, many eons ago, and he was writing poetry by himself at a table. I'm all, what are you doing? I want to read your poetry. And he's like, I'm too embarrassed. I can't let anyone to read it. I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, I write poetry. And he's like, let me read your poetry. I'm like, I don't have it with me. He's like, So that was like the extent of my entire conversation with Craig Sheffer, who was in A River Runs Through It. But what is the name of this movie? And now I'm thinking about it. And anyway, it was the whole movie was so ridiculous and was filled with toxic masculinity. The whole thing was an insane movie. My son and I were watching it, and when I was watching it for like 20-30 minutes on my own, it was a super long movie, and my son's like, oh, this looks so interesting. My God, it's beautiful. It's Montana. I'm like, yeah, this sweeping wide angle view of the Montana mountains and the plains and the trees, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. And I didn't want to stop watching the movie, basically because of the nature, and the movie was amazing. But Brad Pitt played this guy named Tristan, and he just was kind of like a jerk. Like, he just really ruined people's lives just because of the way his personal nature was. Like, he had zero regard for anyone, and 2 women ended up dead because, I'm not even going to tell you the whole story, but 2 women ended up dead because of him. One because of his actions, and the other one because of his inactions. And it's just like he's like floating around through life, hurting people left and right, which is super toxic, right? It's not really masculinity at all. It's not divine masculinity at all. And my son is like, this movie really, really sucks. I'm like, yeah, I know. And then we kind of kept watching it, and then we're making fun of it. And then when we were done watching it, we looked up articles on the movie because it was so bad that there's no way in hell. And I thought, this cannot be a true story, right? And but Anthony Hopkins, he played the this super wealthy dude who has this, like, I don't know, 1,000 acres or whatever in Montana, and and it's just him raising his 3 sons, and it just seems like it was just, no one was really connected. There was not really any true love, true compassion, true levels of understanding of each other, and then they have this Native American dude who's narrating the whole thing, which made it interesting, but a lot of the things that he said was just absolutely nonsensical. Like, it was just, he knew what he had to do, and so he did it. It's like, yeah, like everybody everywhere, no matter what. It's like, not, the writing wasn't very good, the acting was really good, but there was still, the script was so not, there was like no connection. It just felt like no connection. We could blame the actors or the director, but I honestly blame the writer and the director. But it was this massively, like, widely acclaimed movie back, I think, in the 90s or maybe in the 80s. It was I think it was like in the 80s. Brad Pitt was super young. I think I'd only been an adult for a couple years when it came out. I think it was like in 1989 or 1990 or something. But this movie was just crazy. It was like, and in the whole movie, there was like, 2 women and a little girl, and then later the little girl was a woman. So, but the one main woman who was not married just like kept hanging on, and she had nothing for herself, and she just kept kind of ping-ponging between all the men in the movie. It was like, does Montana only have one woman? There's not other women? Like, they couldn't have met, they all fell in love with her immediately because her beauty was so amazing. But it was all stereotypes. And then the only viable option for her was a man who was crippled. So there was like, he wasn't much of a man, right? And so that's why her life was tragic. Like, the way that they made it out, not saying that crippled people are, but that's the way that it made it out in the movie. Like, she was attracted to him because, he was different, or, he was like injured in the wars. Now he's walking with a cane, and, it was like so crazy. It was just like every single part of the movie was bad. And I started thinking about the gender stereotypes, like she just sat around waiting for a man. And then the first man died, and then the second man rejected her, and then the third man, oh, I might as well marry him, even though he's like the lesser of the three brothers, and whatever. It was, she didn't say that, but it was kind of like the gist of it, like he was somehow invalid because he was invalid. He wasn't even invalid, honestly. He was mentally capable, and he seemed very sweet, but he walked with a cane, so they didn't really give him a lot of screen time. It was kind of like he was like the lesser of, it was just like the subtleties and the stereotypes. Like, if you're a man, you have to be completely functional. You have to be able to walk on your own without a stick. You've got to be able to, that was like it was like a gender stereotype, which was completely and totally and utterly ridiculous. It was ridiculous. It was all fake stuff. It was all surface stuff. It wasn't deeply explored. It was not spiritually viable. It wasn't even really psychologically sound. It was a lot of stuff that was just not, a lot of stuff that just didn't make any sense, honestly. And I don't know, you guys. Anyway, that's just what made me get off on this tangent today. Was just like, what are the stereotypes that we're holding ourselves, in a place of being adhering to them, that is holding us back from embodying fully our divine masculine and our divine feminine. Like today, for the first time in a very long time, I started to actually accept my femininity, and I have not felt feminine in a long time, but I don't mean the stereotypical part. I mean the divine femininity, and I actually embraced it tonight in a way that I haven't in a long time. I did I lit a couple candles, and I took a bath, and I put red food coloring in the bath to make it pink, which is really freaky when you do this, because it looks like blood swirling around until you kind of mush it in there and stir it up and add extra water, and then it becomes like a pale pink. And I tried to make lavender, and then I put blue in, and then it just turned gray, which was insane. I'm like, this is like a goth bath right now. I made myself a gothic bath. Yay! It was so dark gray. I'm like, what the hell? So then I added more red, and I thought, well, this is just gonna look like blood or something, right? And once I mixed it in, it looked like kind of like a weird champagne color, or like a sepia. So I took an old-fashioned sepia bath, It was like a black and white bath, and then it turned like a sepia color. It was so strange. It was like a very pale, I don't know, the blue food coloring here is very weird. I'm in Ecuador, so it's kind of strange. But anyway, I had a bath, and I lit some candles, and I said a lot of prayers tonight, and I said prayers for my divine masculine to find his way back to me when he's ready, and for me to be ready, and for us to get rid of those barriers that hold us back in life and from the union, the relationship with each other that eventually we will have. So it wasn't, an attempt to call, to control him. Never, I would never do that. But it was an attempt to banish all the negative feelings, the doubts, the fears, the worries, the anxieties of being together, of meeting each other. And I took some steps towards accepting everything about myself. And I took steps to accept everything about him. And I took steps towards understanding that he's going to accept me 100% as well. As well as accepting himself. And when I did that, I just started to feel like I'm finally able to glow with the divine femininity without all the other stereotypes. I don't know why. It just kind of fell away. It was like the false masks that we wear and the false identities that we assume, and the false ways that we see ourselves and each other. And I started realizing that he's probably every bit as sweet as I am, and kind and lovely as I am, and when I'm in my power. Now, when I'm out of my power, as we all can be, sometimes when we get out of our power, we can be terrible people. We could, throw temper tantrums, or we can be angry, or we can be unruly or non-responsive. When you're hurt, you don't act the way you do when you are completely stable emotionally, So anyway, I wanted you guys to think about it and just try to figure out all the stereotypes that are like holding you back, that you hold yourself back, I noticed that women really will still try to look sexy and beautiful, but sexy in a way that they want male, they want to control men's sexuality to get them turned on, so they go, ooh baby, look at you, la la la. And then at the same time, like on like social media, they'll do that, but then they will be walking down the street, and if someone says, oh, looking good mama, or whatever, the same kind of attention, they'll be like, F you. And like, I've seen people act like this. I've known people that act like this, and I know that I used to act very sexy. I wanted that energy of, oh yeah, look at me when I was like 18, when I was 17, when I was still trying to explore my own sexuality in a way that, I didn't really understand myself then. The way I am now, I know that I don't need unwanted attention from other people. I don't want it. And it's not necessary, and it's not necessary to lead with that, It's not necessary to, like, you're a viable human if you don't act that way, That does not make you a viable human, but that was a stereotype I bought into, following my cousin's lead, who was always acting like, well, you gotta act sexy so the boys like you, And I had people in my life when I was growing up, in my formative years, that actually would say things like that. Oh, who's going to love you if your waistline is bigger? I mean, these are things that people actually said to me. Oh, look at you, looking a little pudgy. You should probably start dancing again. Well, my aunt would say that to me. It's like, okay, whatever, I mean, she was really thin, but she didn't work out, but she was thin because she had a lung removed when she was younger, and, she hardly ate because she could hardly breathe. I mean, I think it was her health issues that made her thin, She did swim a lot. She exercised some, but she didn't, like, hit the gym or anything. She would just swim, And yes, I would love to be just like my aunt, because she was wealthy and she was popular and very loving and kind overall. But she was kind of, sometimes she'd pick on me a little bit, not meanly, but just, oh, well, hey, look, you need to, probably need to take care of that waistline, Missy, And then her daughter, my cousin, would always say things like, hey, you need to be sexy for the boys, and this is, not the best advice to give a little girl who's a little girl. It was just like ridiculous, inappropriate, but it was a gender stereotype that she bought hook, line, and sinker and taught me, and for a time I bought that hook, line, and sinker, and it's not something that I accept for myself any longer. I want to accept for myself a higher vibrational, I would like to imbue the goddess, divine mother, the beautiful energy of being a caretaker of myself and others, but not in a way that I rescue people or that I am myself helpless, because that's also false mask. That's a false identity and a false stereotype that we put on ourselves, and I don't know, guys. I just hope that you guys can figure this out for yourself. I know you will. We're all moving towards these higher, loftier ideas of being completely and radically accepting ourselves and radically accepting our divine masculines and being emotionally supportive and being loving, and it's not just being polite or nice. It's being truly and unreasonably kind and fully accepting, not disrespecting, not mocking, not making fun of, not cajoling, but truly accepting the other person, understanding they have feelings, understanding that they've got that, the same thing that you have, like if you're empathic, your twin flame is going to be empathic, right? And if you're, and this is not just in your normal relationships, not even just in twin flame relationships, but in our relationships, people at work, people in your life, your little brother, your older sister, whatever, all the people in your life. We have to start being more loving and radically accepting them and stop holding people accountable to false ass stereotypes that really serve nobody. They serve no purpose. They serve no real purpose. Anyway, that's my my diatribe for the night. So let me go to spaceweather.com, see what we've got going on here. All right, the current solar wind conditions are 370.7 kilometers per second. There's been 3 days without a sunspot, which it's good. Right now, tonight, Jupiter is at opposition of the sun, and it's now making its closest approach to Earth. The giant planet rises at sunset, stays up all night long. Oh, sounds like me. No. Okay, I'm recording this at 2 a.m., so it sounds like me today. Anyway, it says look for it right beside Saturn in the midnight sky, so that could be interesting. I'm sure it might be the same about this more or less tomorrow. So, Comet Neowise has met the Northern Lights. So if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you want to look at that. That's got to be something absolutely incredible. Babbitt, Minnesota. This is the second time in 24 hours that the name Babbitt, Babbitt, has come up. It was in the reading of the human aura last night. It was someone's last name, and now it's a city in Minnesota that's being mentioned on, that's like a very specific name. I've never seen it in my life, except for yesterday, so this might mean something to some of you, so pay attention to that, just in case. It does say that, so basically there was a slow-moving coronal mass ejection that hit Earth's magnetic field yesterday, and the impact of that was barely felt, but the slight ripples it sent through the geomagnetic field were enough to spark off the aurora borealis along the United States and Canadian border. And it says that Heidi Pinkerton caught the display from Babbitt, Minnesota. So she said it was thrilling to see the sunset, the comet, and the northern lights all at the same time. And so there's this picture that's absolutely beautiful about this, but I don't see the northern lights so much in this picture. I don't know. I mean, there's some purple in the image, but you might want to go look. Though it's absolutely beautiful. It's, just seeing the comet over the lake with the sunset. It's very interesting. But yeah, okay. So, but anyway, that's spaceweather.com if you wanted to go check that out. There also, we've got noctilucent clouds. We've got all kinds of stuff going on. And it says here that Comet Neowise is now visible in the morning sky and the evening sky. Oh, good. That means I can actually see it, not at 5 in the morning, but at a normal, decent, godly hour versus the ungodly hour, 5:30 is what it was saying earlier. But it does double the odds that photographers will catch the comet alongside aurora borealis, meteors, fireballs, spaceships. They said spaceships, ooh, and noctilucent clouds. They said for best results, make a wish. Aww. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Make a wish on Comet Neowise. Alright, so, Oulu, Finland has reported the neutron counts in the atmosphere, coming towards Earth, is down 0.7%. They're at a 9.5% of the space age average, which is high and not very high, which is good. So a little bit less radiation than in the past couple of days. There are no large coronal holes on the Earth's side of the sun. That's good news. That means we don't get solar wind radiation. Not for the next few days anyway. And there were 19 fireballs reported over the United States from NASA's All-Sky cameras and the All-Sky Fireball Network. Out of these 19 fireballs, one was a July Pegasus, and 18 of them were sporadic fireballs. So, there we go. The Schumann Resonance today on disclosurenews.it was 44. If you're keeping track, that is an angel number that's been cropping up quite a bit. 33 and 44 and 344, 433 in any combination. That has been very much in a lot of people's psyche lately, that number 44. So in Italy, the Schumann resonance was 44 hertz frequency. It's like barely an effort into the fifth dimension. Very weird, right? But when we go to heartmath.org, of course, we always have more information on the Schumann resonance and gives us a little bit more picture of what's going on around the whole world, not just in the Italian world. Anyway, let's see. Now, this is a couple days ago, though. So, July 12th is where we're at, 2 days ago, 2300 hour on Sunday. This is what was going on Sunday according to heartmath.org. So, California was at 130 hertz frequency. Hafuf, Saudi Arabia, 147 hertz frequency. Lithuania, they were at 175 hertz frequency. And Alberta, Canada, was at 375 hertz frequency. Wow, that's huge. Northland, New Zealand was at 74 hertz frequency. And last but not least, Hululu, South Africa, was at 147 hertz frequency, which is just where Hafuf, Saudi Arabia was at. So Hulului and Hafuf both, so South Africa and Saudi Arabia, were at 147. It's very interesting. These numbers are very interesting, like 175, 375, they both end in 75. And then here in Northland, New Zealand was 74. So again, with the combination of 4s and 7s. So I don't know if that's significant at all, but it might mean something to you. Oh my goodness, and I forgot about this. ACIM.org is the website for the Foundation for Inner Peace. And we are on lesson 333. 333, that's only half evil. Just kidding. Lesson 333, and this is a course in miracles. I recommend you take the course on your own, go through each of the lessons of the fine-tooth comb. We're only reading the lesson, but not the whole book. There's 3 books that go to this. So if you ever have the inclination, I highly recommend this series of lessons. It's excellent. So, okay, lesson 333 is this. Forgiveness ends the dream of conflict here. Forgiveness ends the dream of conflict here. Conflict must be resolved. It cannot be evaded, set aside, denied, disguised, seen somewhere else, called by another name, or hidden by deceit of any kind, if it would be escaped. It must be seen exactly as it is, where it is thought to be, in the reality which has been given it, and with the purpose that the mind accorded it. For only then are its defenses lifted, and the truth can shine upon it as it disappears. Father, forgiveness is the light you chose to shine away all conflict and all doubt, and light the way for our return to you. No light but this can end our evil dream. No light but this can save the world. For this alone you will never fail in anything, being your gift to your beloved Son. Forgiveness ends the dream of conflict here. Again, that's lesson 333. If you want to check it out on your own, ACIM.org, which of course stands for A Course in Miracles. All right, guys, I'm going to take a quick break, and when I come back, I will be channeling the goddess. That's right, Divine Mother herself, the Divine Feminine to God, the Prime Creator. She is the Prime Creatrix, and we're going to hear what she has to say coming up after these brief messages. I'll be right back. It's that time of year, guys. Finally, OMG. I am up for not only 1, but 2 People's Choice Podcast Awards this year. I had no idea. I just found out. Okay, the voting starts today, July 1st, and goes through the 31st of July. And I need you guys to nominate my podcast. This is how you do it. Go to podcastawards.com, and you have to sign up in order to nominate me, in order to vote, and you have to go to the very first category at the top, and it's the Adam Curry's People's Choice Podcast Award, And I'm way down on the list because, Metaphysical Soul Speak, the podcast. And you just click that. And then when you're done with that section, you go to the religion and spirituality category. And again, cast your vote for Metaphysical Soul Speak, the podcast. And then you have to go way at the bottom part of the page and say, save my nominations. And that's it. It's that simple. It takes less than 2 minutes, probably 1 minute if you have high-speed internet, of course. It's not that much. You can even do this on your phone. It's super, super simple. I voted for myself on my tablet. OMG. So thank you for your continued support and listenership and voting for this show, because by doing so, you're keeping the show alive and we're getting the word out so that other people can benefit from my expertise. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. All right, guys, a couple of notes before we get into the channeling for tonight. Number one, that movie was called Legends of the Fall. In case that was driving you crazy, it was driving me nuts, so I had to look it up. And the movie with Brad Pitt that I mentioned that was completely ridiculous, Legends of the Fall. It's weird because none of these men are actual legends. It's a completely made up story. And they kept talking about the spring and the winter, but never the fall. So what the hell? Even the name of the movie was strange. Anyway, I think the best part of that movie was the golden flowing locks of Brad Pitt. Even his makeup wasn't very good in the movie. It was crazy, but his hair was nice. Anyway, also something I forgot to mention about stereotypes, a quick note, is a big, huge chunk of our stereotypes do come from media. I don't know why I didn't think about that while I was talking, but magazines, TV commercials, TV shows, movies, these, and I still see stereotypes in TV shows and movies left and right. It's still so prevalent in, gender roles and gender stereotypes. So I just wanted to also bring that up because I thought, why didn't I bring that up? Like, media, that is a massive place for us to glom onto the ideas of the stereotype, but for our gender that we ascribe for ourselves, right? Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. Anyway, okay, so beyond that, I'm already connected to Divine Mother, and I do muscle testing, and she says, yes, you are. Okay, good. So I am an indirect channeler. I don't believe in allowing entities to take over my body, lest I become tricked. Don't want to be a demon taken over or whatever. So I only channel via telepathy. Sometimes the beings are in the room with me, and I physically can feel energy, like radiating electricity or heat coming off of them, or sometimes electrical coolness. Sometimes I feel that, and sometimes it's more of a sense, like a sixth sense, literally, that they're here with me. And sometimes wherever they are at, I could still telepath with them, whether it's next door, across the world, or in another dimension or another world entirely. I can't exactly tell you how I do it, but I do it. So anyway, just wanted to let you know that in case you are brand new to the show, I've been doing the channeling for about 18 months publicly. I've been doing it for, oh goodness, over 20 years for family and friends. But as far as doing this publicly, it's not been 2 years yet. So anyway, here we go. I'm going to be channeling the creatrix of all the universes, otherwise known as Goddess or Divine Mother, as I like to call her. So, Divine Mother, am I connected to you? She says yes. In fact, she says, yes, you are, my child. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to put a veil over my head, not because I need to, but because I did just wash my hair a couple hours ago. It's still wet, and I'm feeling cold. You could tell in my voice probably that I got a little bit of water up my nose, and so I'm feeling a little chilled and strange, and it's kind of like affecting my voice a little bit. And I'm not sick. I'm actually well, but I know it sounds different. My voice is a little bit different right now because of that. But I do feel relaxed, so yes. All right. So here we go. All right, Divine Mother, you may begin your transmission now. Greetings and hello. It is I, your Divine Mother. I am so grateful to be here. I consider all of you my little children, even though most of you listening to this message are fully grown adults. I am here in a greater capacity than I was. I had not been at the forefront for quite some time, thousands of years, in fact, because it was the time for the divine masculine to take over. And for a while, it was all about the divine feminine. Everybody worshipped and prayed to a goddess or a divine mother or whatever words that they used to describe praying to a female deity. However, as that faded out and the new came into play, the new being worshiping and praying to a father god or a male deity, I kind of fell to the wayside as far as being in the thoughts, hearts, and minds of the people. Some people secretly prayed to me or asked me to protect them, etc., but it took a long time. But when you look at it from my perspective, it's kind of like the principle of even Steven. We have the female deity that goes first and gets to be at the forefront of people's minds, and then we get the male deity that gets to be in the forefront of people's minds as those ideas of masculinity are explored. At first it was femininity and then masculinity. And now what is taking place is, it is not the goddess coming back. It is not God remaining in place, undefeated and not to be dethroned. But what we hope will happen and what we see happening, us being the Lord and the Lady, or the Divine Mother and Heavenly Father, or however you wish to ascribe that energy to us, is okay with us, as long as you understand the energy of it, not necessarily the name of it, because that's not as important as the energy of what is happening. So basically it was the female energy and then the male energy, and now we are coupling up. Literally, we are a couple. The male and the female will be prayed to, thought of, worshipped, etc., you name it, in the upcoming era. And this is going to be an era of peace. It's going to be an era of joy. It's going to be an era of understanding each other, and an era in which many males and females will find their divine masculinity, their divine femininity. They will be able to find their divine self, not only in themselves, but in each other. It's going to become very clear and very evident that people suddenly have a shift in their belief systems. They're going to have a shift in the way that they function and think, and the way they speak when it comes to discussing spirituality or God. And it's going to be subtle at first, and it's going to take several little shifts and changes before it's fully implemented in the psyche of humans, of all humankind. But eventually it's going to be very common and very mainstream, not just among those of you who believe in the balance and harmony and the cooperative nature of the genders. And she's also showing me, regardless of gender, regardless of the stereotypes and the gender roles, and regardless of what, the way that people see each other based on their genitals or what their physical bodies are doing, she's saying. So basically, it's going to be very evident that people are more open-minded towards the idea of the Mother and the Father God. And there's been a trend for several decades now for people to say the universe to replace the word God. But the universe has always been thought of as masculine. So even though many people were in a way in which they were saying the universe, to get outside of religion and get outside of the concept of deity, they're trying to get to the heart of energy itself, life itself. There's still a secret misconception of the word universe being only masculine. the divine masculine or God. People would say, well, people don't like the word God, so I'm going to say the universe. And so people always replaced the word God with the universe in the idea of, and in the way of masculine energy. But I'm here to tell you, as the creatrix of all, that the conceptualization, the visualization, the ideas for the universe come from divine masculine, Father God. But the implementation and the creation itself comes from Mother God. The female energy is the creative force. The masculine energy is the active force, and yet at the same time, it's passive in the creation. It puts forth the energy, but it is the creatrix that builds with that energy. So, I want you to pay attention to the fact that people are moving towards the acceptance of the female and the male energies when it comes to the concept of deity. It's coming. It is definitely going to come into your awareness more, your psyches more. And it is a good thing because it is balanced. The energy of having complete and total control over your world and the elements, that's also going to come into play. And the masculine and the feminine energies will be combined in a way that is quite the opposite of the battle of the sexes energy from the 1970s on, the sexual revolution that took place there. It was very much the sexes playing out stereotypical gender roles and using these as weapons, and they were weaponized against each other. All women say this, all men do that. Those kinds of ideas were conceptually false and yet pervasive in all of the societies in the world. And yet today, even today in this year, 2020, there are still countries in which basically didn't get the political correctness memo. They didn't understand that it's not okay to be this way, to treat women or men this way. There's a wide variety of examples you can fill in the blank, you can just about imagine, but there are many countries that absolutely forbid women to work, for example. And a lot of those things are going to change, but very slowly in some places. But it's coming. The male and the female energies are going to both be thought of and considered, and it's going to be an equality. At first it'll be spiritual concepts, and then it's going to be emotional and spiritual knowing, and in time it's going to be very much evident that there's a spiritual equality and an ethereal equality that didn't exist before. You're going to bring about the heaven on earth in your world when the divine masculine and divine feminine energies combine in a sort of spiritual or heavenly marriage vibration. It's going to imbue your world with a level of love that had not existed before. And peace will prevail when this is fully implemented. You have all heard of the golden age of humanity, and you all assumed that when you hit the Aquarian age, that the golden age would happen automatically. But there's still some work to do. There's still some twin flames that need to meet each other. There's still some soulmates that need to work some things out. There are still some people that haven't understood their role in holding genders back by their beliefs. They haven't been aware that they are holding up the proverbial energetic train, as it were. So it is important at this moment in time for everybody to take a look at the role that they're playing and what they have perpetuated that is real and what is false. As far as the male and female energies, you all have almost gotten the energy of balance there. You're very, very close. I would like to encourage you to keep going. That energy balance is so necessary, and it has to be held up to the light. And what she's showing me, guys, is like holding up a cup. I'm trying to understand this. Okay, it's liquid light. Okay. I'm like, is that whiskey? What is it? She's showing me this golden chalice. Like, imagine a couple, and she's saying, obviously it doesn't have to be, it could be non-binary, it doesn't matter, but two people who are in love. Imagine one represents masculine divine and one represents feminine divine, and they're holding up a golden chalice to the sun. And inside that chalice is liquid light that's alive, like living liquid light. And it's a gold, and both things are golden in color. And she's showing me, imagine this was the way it was, right? If this was the way it was, and all divine masculines and all divine feminines have gone through all their shadow work, and they've given up all of their negative stereotypes about themselves and each other, and they've given up all of the inequalities, and they've embraced complete and total active compassion and love for one another and for the whole world, in fact. And then you imagine if they got together and they held this beautiful golden chalice up to the sky, up to the sun, and the sun catches a glimpse of the liquid golden light, and it just gets activated. And imagine it spews out all over the whole world, this energy, this active, powerful, almost like a plasma energy, and it envelops the entire earth. That would be a way you can visualize this happening, but it's literally just accepting every potential, every possibility, all of the field of possibilities. If you can imagine and embrace and accept the field of possibilities is an endless array of what could possibly happen in your world. Instead of focused on one or two things you want to happen, it's better for you to just imagine that it's possible for everything, all things to happen, and that you can be okay with that, and you keep your vibration raised because you don't know what your future holds except for love and light and peace and beauty and joy and compassion. And once the whole world is covered and blanketed in this powerful liquid golden plasma light. Once it is evident that the whole world is surrounded by the love, the compassion, the joy. Once you feel free to step into your power and empower yourself as the divine masculine and the divine feminine, only at this point will your future unfold before you in a way that incorporates your deep newfound sense of spirituality and your intense I'm sorry, I lost the thread. We'll keep going. And your intense, I'm missing a word here, Divine Mother. You guys, at these times when this happens, I have to pick back up the thread of thought. Usually energy is sent to me in packets, and I have to unpack it. I have to unpack the packets of information. They're like chunks of information. And right now I lost the thread a little bit, so let's get back to that. Once you're able to embrace the compassion and joy energy and complete acceptance for one another, no matter if it's someone you know well or a perfect stranger or someone you saw on a video that's on the other half of the world away from you, no matter who you see before you, if you could have love, light, beauty, and compassion energy towards them. Once you get to that level with everybody you meet, and once everybody gets to that level with everybody they meet, then and only then can the world start fresh and anew, and you can go in the direction of your dreams without the thought of being ridiculed or mocked or made to feel less than. And then the golden age of humanity will come about. But if you imagine that, even though you're grown adults, can you imagine you're in a classroom and you're all grade schoolers once again, and you're doing your workbooks about your shadow side and your masculine nature and your feminine nature, and you're suddenly able to get 100% on every test. You're suddenly able to take your shadow and cast it aside. And it's almost like you're shining a light on each and every spiritual lesson you've ever taken, you've ever had in your life. All of your insights, all of your things that caused you fury and rage, all of the things that brought you deep sense of profound peace. What if you're able to open up your workbook and you're able to solve the problems of your shadow side and of your life and all the things that hurt you before? So if you could take out a workbook and you were solving all these problems, and then you got to the reward part, you're done with the math and science part, now it's the art part, and you get to draw and you get to explore yourself in a new and fun way. You got to draw and cut out things and paste things, and it's very, very interesting and intricate and beautiful. So if you could look at this metaphor as if that's what you've been doing for the past 3 or 4 years. You've just been going through the workbook or the handbook of life. And you've gotten to the point now where after you've worked through the shadow side, which might be considered to be the math problems or the hard questions, once you have insights about everything and you get to the end and the workbook just says, now it's time to color. Now it's time to sing, rejoice. Maybe the last lesson or assignment in the workbook would say, put on a record and dance now. You're finished. If you can imagine that all of life has just been one big workbook, but when you're finished, you get to just enjoy life now. And you're at the end, so say your workbook is 33 pages long, you're on page 30. You're very close, you're almost there. Where everyone soon will be able to laugh and sing and dance and be in the universe in a happy and beautiful manner. A lot of you have been worried about what's happening on the planet right now. A lot of you have been feeling that maybe you were wrong with the age of Aquarius and the golden age of humankind, and you keep thinking that maybe you were misled, maybe you've gone astray, maybe the world isn't going up in vibration, maybe you're not in the fifth dimension. A lot of you have been casting shadows and doubt on yourself, your beliefs, and everyone around you based on the abject, horrible violence that has been happening around the world, but mostly in the United States at this time. I am here to tell you, my beloveds, my beautiful little children, whether you're adults or not, I consider you like my little children. The way that you consider the beauty, intense purity, innocence, and joy of a newly born babe, a fresh to the world little baby. That innocence and that newness and that life, I see all of you like this. Because it's truly who and how you are. Even the ones who are perpetuating the violence. And she's saying me, guys, as Elena has said before, many, many times, the people who are perpetuating the most evil and negative things on your planet now are the ones who are spiritually asleep. Just as if someone asleep in a bed might wake up swinging punches because they're not aware of where they're at yet. That's all that's happening with the violence in the world. Those are people that don't know where they're at yet. They're asleep still, spiritually. It's easy to get angry. It's easy to point fingers and blame. But the best thing that you can do about these people is to send love and compassion for sleeping people who have not yet woken up. And they wake up swinging their arms wildly, and they don't care who they hurt because they're so afraid inside. If you can stop, step back, look and observe, and then send pure love, pure compassion, and understand that there is forms of mental anguish and forms of mental illness. Racism is like a mental illness. That is something that somebody wrote recently. In fact, a lot of people have started to come to this conclusion. And I cannot say that I disagree with this statement. But I will let you know that when you're dealing with a violent criminal, and what we mean by violent criminal in this case are the police officers, those posing as police officers, the federal law enforcement that have been hurting people and killing people and doing all the horrible things to people to try to keep a status quo of a dying and dead world. They're trying to hold on to ideas and thoughts that were established long ago that have since been broken up and fallen to the wayside. These ideals are not ideal. These ideas are now dead on arrival. Ideas of racism and systemic injustice for some parts of the population. These things have been pretty much let go of, and they're in the old world, and these people are insane, and they are holding on to these ideas and beliefs because they don't know what's really happening to them. Did they go into the fifth dimension with you? Yes, they did. Do they know? No, they do not. They're the sleeping ones that are waking up screaming and windmilling their arms about, flailing, because they're so scared. Because they have no clue about their own reality, their own nature, their own soul. They don't know anything. Do they need to be held accountable? Yes, they do. Can you send them love and compassion? Yes, you can. It's easier if you think about them as being mentally ill or criminally insane, or completely asleep and waking up with their arms flailing about. It's going to get better. We know this is a very tough and strenuous and horrible time for many of you, for most of you. With the global pandemic and all the things going on in the world. It's by design on some levels. Many of you, and we just heard you say, but you created this world. Why is it this bad? Why is it like this? Yes, we did create the world and we gave it parameters, but there's also free will in your world. People are welcome to live however they feel necessary. We cannot tell people how to live because they have to choose their own path for themselves. And a lot of people are choosing a very dark path for themselves right now because they're the sleeping ones who wake up with their arms flailing about in a fashion which they're not aware of. But we do assure you again that the dawn and the age of peace is coming soon. We would like you to start to embrace the universal energies flowing your way. Start to embrace the divine masculine and the divine feminine inside of you. Start to embrace the deep spiritual truths that have abounded on your planet for so long. We're asking you now to go back to some of the old ways. We're asking you to embrace some of the new ways. We're asking you to be open-minded about all of these things. The golden age is coming. Those of you who are in a relationship right now, be prepared for that bond to be strengthened as the divine masculine comes into his power and as the divine feminine comes into her power. As we send more waves, wave after wave after wave, in your direction, find inside these waves of light from the grand central sun through your sun portal. See that these new light codes are helping you to adjust rapidly and accept yourself and accept others instantaneously. That's the energy we're sending you. That instant recognition of the divine spark in every human being, and therefore the divine love and respect and beauty and joy that comes from knowing the divine in everybody, not just inside of you. We look forward to the world in which every one of you can relax in your love. Every one of you can relax in your life because everything is equal and compassionate now. So you're saying there is that? Okay. All right, I just want to make sure I did double check for a minute. She said, we do see a time in which basic income will come. We do see a time in which there'll be love and heart and understanding and compassion from the governments towards their people. I know for many of you this feels like a stretch, a really stretch, a big lie or a big whopper. This is what some of you are thinking. It's impossible. But it is entirely true that is coming, where love and compassion will reign again. We're sending through your sun portal many light codes for this to happen. You're going to find that if you start to judge somebody, your mind might trail off and regain its mental focus and clarity. And you might find that what you're about to think or say or do kind of falls to the wayside, as these light codes of love and compassion will always now forevermore bring up these feelings inside of you. These are things that are happening, that are on their way to you. They're on their way to you right this moment. These energies of love, joy, compassion, beauty, music, and art. These energies are on their way to you. We are sending them now. They're showing me, guys, they're like sending them through. I don't know. She just showed me this massive turtle. It was like the back of a turtle, and I think it's a metaphor of, it's a Native American metaphor that the earth is really just on the back of a turtle. I don't know why that was important, but I had to bring that up. But she said once you imbibe, and almost like you were eating or drinking this in energetically and spiritually to your mental, emotional, physical bodies, your spiritual body, your astral, etheric body. Once you drink in these energies, you're going to, you're saying stop question. You're going to stop questioning all the things in the world, because you're going to start to see the balance and the shift that's slowly but gradually taking place. Just you watch. The golden age of humanity is upon you. But it takes time and patience. Now, for all the twin flame lovers out there who have never met each other, who do not know each other, who have never spoken or written to each other. So we're not talking about the twin flames in separation after they've been together and rejected each other temporarily. We're talking about the new waves coming of twin flames meeting each other, have not talked to each other ever, except via philosophy, via energy. They talk to each other via energy. They talk to each other and contemplate the twin flame relationship by talking to other twin flames and by reading up on it and going into forums and discussing with other people. But the people who are true twin flames incarnate right now, they've never met each other, are about to meet within the next 5 weeks, even though this might be just over the phone. Might not be in person quite yet, but in 3 to 5 months is when this new group of twin flames will start to meet in the physical realms. 3 to 5 months from now. So what is that, Divine Mother? See, now it's July, August, September, October, November, so pretty much by Christmas is what is being said, guys. By Christmas 2020, those of us who are going to meet our twin flame this year, we will have already met them by then. Okay, cool. That makes sense. All right. For those of you who are in twin flame separation after having met and rejected each other, eventually, she's saying eventually you're going to just forget what you were fighting for. Those of you who are together and then you had to split, some of you had massive amounts of words to say to each other and massive amounts of anger. But all of that's being quenched or quelled. I don't know, I think she said quelled. It's all that anger, all that resentment, all that immaturity is being thrown to the wayside now, as all the divine masculines are stepping into their power, all the divine feminines are stepping into their power. Now, for those of you in a soulmate relationship, expected to get far more exciting and filled with the energy of love and adventure as you go up in vibration as a whole world. The energies we're sending you, they're coming, they're on their way. And the energies of anger and frustration and all the things that are negative in your world energetically are in the process of being neutralized. All the things that damage your psyche are in the process of being neutralized. Have patience. Bring yourself to center. Bring yourself to a point in which you don't need to always look upon the ugliness of humanity. Bring yourself to a point where you focus in your internal being, because you are an eternal being. She's showing me an image of meditating cross-leggedly with a single candle, like a single white candle before you in a like a dish, like in a glass dish or a metal, like a silver metal dish. The image of a single candle brings ideas of loneliness and solitude to some of you, but from our perspective, we see it as an act of becoming one with everybody. So if you can light a candle and just focus on nothing but love for yourself, for your fellow human beings, for animals, plants, you name it. Just become a center and a beacon of radiating love and light. And watch, if all of you do this and all of you tell 3 more people to do this and they tell 3 more people and so on, eventually your world would just be purely filled with the energy of love and light. We love that you gather together and listen to us. We love that you care enough to explore yourselves and understand who you are on much more greater multidimensional levels. We are so grateful that you were so interested in the things that you're interested in, that even 10 years ago you would have thought were weird if you'd seen these traits in another person. We're happy that you're exploring things like your multidimensional selves and your timeline hopping and all the weird anomalies around you. That you're trying to make sense of these things from a spiritual perspective, when in the past, recent past, all of humankind have been looking at problems with a different lens, a different octave. Things are changing. Things are changing. The things that meant so much to you 5 or 6 years ago probably don't play a significant role in your life any longer. Bear that in mind as you move forward into the new golden dawn, the new age of humanity, the age of peace that will reign for 1,000 years. We want you to imagine this world and imagine the joy that you will feel. Sit in silence with your candle and radiate this sense of love and joy. We ask that you try to light a candle every night. It does not have to burn down every night. You can just use your watch if you want to. Time it for 20 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day and just bring in pure, powerful thoughts of love and compassion. And then imagine your heart center chakra is sending out this same message of love, light, peace, and joy. You send this to everybody that you meet. Really? In 6 years? Okay, and she's saying, and in 6 years' time, if you all can do this, and more people start to follow this advice, in 6 years' time, you will have ushered in the golden age of humanity. But as you all have free will, you have to understand, as you all have free will, this is, she's saying it's like a test. I don't know. I'm not quite hearing that word. I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess it's more of a test for our spiritual nature and our metals, which she's trying to show me. But she says, as you go through this and you realize that this is a test, you're passing it, you're passing it, you're passing it. You're at the end of the workbook now. In 6 years' time, the golden age of humanity will be upon you. We send all of our love to all the lovers of the world, the people who love the world and each other. We send all of our love to each and every one of you. Whether you're, do you want to say that? Yeah, she says, if you're gender confused, we're going to send you love and light and compassion so you can figure it out. If you are transgender, know that we love you and we send you extra support. If you are LGBTQIA, we send you love and support. If you are, and also P, she says, and also P. Forgot the P. And there's a couple of those letters that are doubled, so however it is today in your world, we send extra love to the people who just want to be themselves and be loved. If you are in a soulmate relationship, we are going to send you love, compassion to strengthen that relationship. If you are in twin flame separation with a runner, we're sending love so that can be healed and brought back together, to be brought back to center. If you are in twin flame separation and you've never met and you're excited to meet each other, we're bringing all that together now. The next wave of twin flames will meet by December, by Christmas. If you are alone in solitude, is your path that you've chosen, even before you were born, we're sending you love and light and compassion to strengthen your meditations, to strengthen your resolve so that your goals are met. We are sending you love and light so that love and light can then be reflected in a caring and compassionate way across the whole world. This in turn will affect the universe, which will in fact, affect galaxies, solar systems, all the universes. All the timelines will be affected by what we are sending you right now. We do this with love and compassion and peace. We ask that you be merely receptive for it. We ask that you be in a state of grace and allow that for yourself. We love each and every one of you, and each and every one of you is important to us. Every one of your hairs upon your heads, every hair in your head is important to us. Every cell in your body is important to us. You are important to us. You matter. You all matter. You all are important to the divine. All right, so she says, and with that energy of love and compassion, remember to focus 20 minutes a day on sending that out to the world and sending it to yourself first. That love, compassion, complete and total acceptance of yourself and others. Spend 20 minutes a day in that energy of that intense love. Bring about the changes that you wish to see in your world. We see that it is happening. The way it's going now, we see it's happening in 6 years. We humbly bow before you, beautiful humanity. You are our children, but you are also us, and we are also you. We are your future, and you indeed are ours. And she's showing me the energy of bowing to you with humility, complete energy of humbleness. Be kind, be great, respect yourselves, and accept yourselves and each other. We're ending the transmission now. All right, well, there you go. You guys have it. Whew, I was kind of out of it for a few moments there. I hope that this made sense. I hope that Divine Mother was able to come through. She's very gentle and very sweet energy. She's such a beautiful light. A lot of energy of blue, but I felt some pink energy too, like the combination of pink and blue. I think that this is the energies of the twin flames coming together. And that will affect you whether you're a twin flame incarnate or not, even though every one of you has a twin flame. He or she or they may not be incarnated at this moment, and that's okay. because all the twin flames that are incarnate together are becoming more of that divine energy, that essence of divinity. And as it comes together, it's going to help all of us. Every single one of us will be helped, whether we're incarnate with our twins or not. All right, well, there it is. There you have it. I love each and every one of you guys. I accept you. I love you. I respect you. As Divine Mother said, you matter. I feel a lot of you are going to cry from this. I just feel it. Sometimes I could reach into the future and see your reactions. And if you are one of those people who are crying right now, just know that I'm sending you a lot of love and hugs. Virtual hugs, social distancing hugs, energy only. That's how it is. All right, well, that's it. Thank you for liking, subscribing, forwarding, sharing, telling other people who are spiritually waking up about this. Thank you for putting your posts about this on Instagram, about your favorite episodes of Metaphysical Soul Speak the podcast. Thank you for your nominations. Thank you for your listenership and your ongoing support and continued faith in my work. I love each and every one of you so much. I'm glad we're doing this together. We're ascending more and more higher up into the fifth dimension every day. We're bringing about heaven on earth. It's going to be in 6 years, she said. So yay, golden age of humanity. The darkness is fighting, but it's fighting its last breath, and it's not going to be here in 6 years. Just keep focusing, lighting your candles, like she said. That's it, guys. I'm signing off. I'll be back tomorrow with all unique and original programming, just like always. But for now, I'm signing off with peace and joy and the high vibrations of the holy fifth dimension. Until next time, guys. Peace. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.